Hello, everybody, and welcome back to tracking our local shifting real estate market here in Southern New Jersey, Burlington, Camden, Gloucester counties, 900,000 and below. We are here in the 21st week of 2024, third week in May, and we have 7 records that we're setting for today. Quite a moving market that we have at the moment, and a couple trends that I really want to touch on. We'll get you in and we'll get you out of here pretty quick with this week's video. So I'm actually going to just start with interest rates. Second decrease in a row. We've had the past 2 weeks coming down off of 7.22 about 2 weeks ago to see. So 0.2 of a drop in interest rates. It ain't much, but moving in the right direction. I'm never going to complain about that. So let's take a look at what really the story is for this week. And that one, we saw a huge increase in our total active listings over the past couple of weeks, right? In April, we were hovering in those 1200s, low 1300s. And then all of a sudden, in, let's say, we'll call it 3 weeks, basically, we've gone up from 1,300 up to 1,445. So that's a big increase, and it's the highest since the second week of December back in 2023. So it's definitely the highest that we've had of total listings on the market for the entire year. Now, what was really interesting and what's driving that is we had 414 new listings just this past week. That's the highest individual week since we started recording this series back in January 1st of 2023. So it's now almost 17 months, basically we're right at about 18 months here of tracking, and the single highest week of new listings hitting the market. So love to see that. But here's what's happening. We have our golden ratio intact, which is new listing higher than pending, pending higher than closed. So that's intact, but it's a much higher variable spread than we've seen. A lot of times these are pretty close, how far apart they are. Like you can see back here, even 390, this isn't quite it, but still a pretty tight range here. But to only have 311 closed properties, 360 went under contract, and 414 came on as new, that's putting considerable amount of new listings back on the market because they're not being sold as quickly. So I love to see that. And then obviously you can see our pending number was at 360, and that was the highest since the second week of June in 2023. So going back, 11 months, that's the highest amount of properties that went under contract. So the highest amount that actually came on the market, and the second highest since in 11 months for ones that went under contract. So love to see that. A lot of properties hitting the market and a lot of properties getting under contract. 311 for our close, didn't set any records there. Again, middle of the month expired, withdrawn, and canceled listings, fairly nominal at 72. Price reductions at 144. That was a smidge higher. But again, we normally see this at about 10% of what we see in the total active listings for a rough average. And that's actually quite on par, almost right at 10%. Getting price reduced. Now, here's the other part of this conversation is that our average days on market and our median days on market are both the lowest in 17 months since we've started recording this. Maybe deep in COVID when it really started to get fast. There could be a possibility that those got to that time, but really a 19-day median days on market and a 52 average, that is really low. That is very low. So that is, it's fast. Market is still very fast. But we still have a lot of listings on there. And as we scroll down just a bit more here, we have 2 more records. One is, again, we set another record of the highest median list price ever, not just 2023, ever. I just watched a Dave Ramsey bit this past week, and he's seeing it on a national median list price average as well. So this isn't even just a South Jersey thing only. This is a national. We're seeing the highest median list prices ever, period. And then our average, this one's interesting. So our average sold to list price, 103.4%. That's the highest in 2024. Now, I didn't start recording that until this year, so I can't go back farther to let you know if that's been a highest ever, but definitely the highest this year. And I'll tell you, I just had an example of this where we had put in an offer over this weekend on a townhome. Now, this townhome was priced as the highest priced home in the development, but it also had the most upgrades compared to all the other comps that had sold right around there. That all sold at kind of like 389, 390, 400. Now this house had way better upgrades. We did put an offer in $30,000 over asking price, as is conventional mortgage. Didn't have quite the down payment, a little bit there. We only put about a third of the amount that we're going over the asking price for an appraisal gap. But we did not get that offer. And I found out that they had about 20 offers on the property, and they did end up having 3 all cash offers. So that was a little hard to compete against, especially with the appraisal gap that we're not going to do. In a situation like that, I may recommend having a cash to keys approval with AnnieMac. I've done that in previous videos. If you have any information that you'd like to hear about what a cash to keys offer is, I can always put you in touch with that. But it's basically a cash guarantee for the home should anything happen underwriting. So it gives the seller basically the same guarantee as a cash offer without you as a buyer needing to have that cash. Basically, the AnnieMac steps in and buys it, and then in a month or 2 months, when you've sorted out whatever issue you had that delayed closing, you would just buy the property back from AnnieMac. There's a small fee associated with it, but in a competitive market, when you're going up against other cash offers, that might be helpful. So anyway, we're going to wrap up there. But wow, a lot of listings, a lot of new listings, a lot going under contract, really fast market, high prices, and interest rates coming down, but not nearly fast enough in any meaningful way. So a good week this week for real estate. I'm curious next week to see some of our monthly averages, and I'll be able to kind of bring my graphs back into play next week, and we can start to see the effects of this May, because this May has been a really big shock to a lot of different numbers that we've seen and we've been playing around with. So very curious to see where we stand at the end of the month. All right, everybody, have a good week. Have a good Memorial Day. Talk to you soon.